Well, welcome to Coastal Roots Farm. We are a nonprofit Jewish community farm, and we're dedicated to making healthy produce available to all, accessible to everybody, no matter what economic ability. And we do that by our Pay What You Can farm stand that's down at the Saxony entrance, and we also have we also work with different community organizations to donate produce. Right now we're actually right here in our 8.5-acre food forest, and this is the area that I manage here. We're going to be amending the soil so that we can come back and plant trees. So what is a food forest? So a food forest is actually this ancient method of agriculture where people for thousands of years had practiced using the natural forest ecosystem to integrate edible trees, berries, shrubs, understory, and that just kind of was the garden. That was the way of working the land. So nowadays we're kind of bringing this back and using the technology we have now and mimicking nature to create a food forest right here in Encinitas. We've got a lot of Mediterranean climate trees like figs and pomegranates, elderberries, and a lot of different varieties of each of those. And we're going to just be continuously adding on to that with other trees. Just kind of a little bit about food forestry. It's kind of a holistic way of thinking. So we're planting kind of two forests at once. We are planting what's called a pioneer forest, which is a lot of trees and shrubs that grow really fast. They fix nitrogen from the air into the soil, which is an element that is basically the main element in fertilizing the soil. So kind of creating our own fertilizer. And they kind of provide that early protection and that feeling of a forest right off the bat. This whole area was planted up in January, so not even a year old, and these trees have grown to about 7 or 8 feet from about 1.5 to 2 feet when they were planted in January. So quite a lot for just under a year. It's pretty impressive. And so under all of those, we're actually planting our food forest, our fruit trees, our shrubs, our understory. And so as the pioneer forest grows really fast and then the food crops catch up, we're going to be slowly pruning the pioneer trees down and letting the eventual canopy be that of the fruit trees. We're trying to amend soil here. We're trying to build that layer of topsoil that we rely on for growing all of our food. It's a big issue in this world that we are losing our topsoil that we rely on, and so what we're trying to do here is really try to just add to it until we create that nice thick layer of humus and soil that will help us in the many years to come. We're also a place where a lot of wildlife comes, so we have coyotes here on a regular basis. We have a lot of birds of prey that visit, a lot of other birds. Just recently saw a heron here hunting. So we're trying to incorporate not only the domesticated wildlife, the chickens, and eventually, hopefully, some bigger animals, maybe goats or sheep, along with the wildlife, along with the educational aspect and the food growing, and more than that, we're eventually going to have a small village up here for farm workers. So we're kind of incorporating a lot of different elements into one space, and I think that's what's going to make this space really thrive in the future. Yeah. So thank you all for coming, and let's get our hands dirty. This fence is a movable fence, and we rotate it about once a week, and and it will move eventually through this whole area all the way to the bottom where the greenhouses are. What you see here, just to kind of give a little bit more explanation, there's these trenches here all the way down, and they are trenched on contour so that when it rains here, all the rain on this hillside starts to make its way down, and instead of running clear off, we are basically incorporating it into the landscape, letting it sink into the earth, and letting it water our trees. So now, in between these Pioneer Cave wattles, we have pomegranates on this row, and so even in this rain that we recently had, just half an inch, not much, but these did fill up a bit, and then immediately after, you see a lot of little plants started to sprout. And so this is happening all the way down, and this is kind of our way to passively harvest the rainwater and take advantage of natural resources. It all helps by keeping the moisture in and fighting evaporation, and that way, it stays in for longer. So a little bit more just about coastal roots and our mission here of giving access to healthy food. This trail that we're just approaching right now, that goes all the way down there to Saxony Road, eventually this trail is going to be open to the public, so anybody can come at any time, enjoy, harvest the fruits off of the trees. Eventually we want to make it accessible to Quail Gardens Road as well, and that way it's kind of this part of a larger project where you'll be able to walk this trail, and eventually it'll connect to other trails that will connect back down to the ocean, kind of as a watershed restoration plan. Back here, you've got, this is an elderberry here, another elderberry. We have figs. We have, this is actually a yacon root, which, the roots are kind of a mix of like a potato and a pear almost, and you can either eat it cooked or eat it raw. Our understory here, we've got some creeping rosemary, and some other herb plants, oregano and thyme, and some tarragon further back that way. You'll see we've got some pomegranates over there and over there. We also have some carob, which is kind of that's got that reddish kind of bark over there, and that's what we'll be planting actually next time you guys come. We'll be planting a bunch of carob trees here. That's kind of the main. Those are the main plants of this area. Further down, you'll see some olives and some dates as well.
Is it warm enough here for dates? I didn't think it was. Jujube date or a different type?
I'm actually not sure which date this that got planted here. There are some dates that will fruit here. Part of it, I think, was also to plant a date in line with like the Jewish sort of agricultural plants, the like 7 species, the dates and the pomegranates and the figs and the wheat and a few other things.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We've also got some more tropical fruits. This is sapote.
Sapote?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you get your water from?
City water. Yeah.
So when these trees are established, are they going to keep needing water? Is the idea they'll be indigenous to the climate?
Some will and some probably won't. Some might need it. The idea is to have them be as like as able to access groundwater as possible.
Right.
And so really just watering a few times in the summer. But other trees that are the more tropical trees will probably need to water continuously. Especially since we've been getting, less and less water here.
I'm aware of the elderberry being so hardy. Is it as hardy as the pomegranate, or does it need more?
No, it's pretty hardy. It's
pretty hardy.
Yeah. This is the Mexican elderberry that we planted. Yeah. Everybody, this is Damien.
Hello.
Another educator and farmer with us. Yeah. So what we'll be doing is actually we're going to be working along this fence line here, and I've put out piles of amendment, and we basically will be digging the holes and amending around. So we want to actually dig some significant basins for these trees, because this soil is pretty poor with all the construction that's happened around this area. It's pretty compacted, and so we want to kind of loosen it up a bit and add some organic matter, and then next time we'll come back, we'll plant right into that.
So, and then you'll say how far apart?
Yeah. So we can basically what I was thinking was we would have a couple different teams. Some folks would be up there, with hose or the pickaxe and kind of working away the soil and opening it up a bit. And then other folks would be filling buckets of amendment and bringing it up. And then once we bring it up, we just want to kind of incorporate it, mix it into the existing soil. And then letting it sit for next time. So we can dig as many holes as we can get to, and then plant that up next time. So it's really.
How far apart should the holes be, and how deep?
We're gonna do about 10 feet apart, and then the depth, I would say, if we can get to about 2 feet down, that would be awesome. If we don't get that far, that's okay too. But let's just aim for maybe twice of a shovel length.
What's the amendment made out of?
The amendment is just basically 1 part compost, and then the other part is kind of it's been a pile of all kinds of things that we've let compost over time, like mulch and tree branches and all kinds of other things. And so it's and like just soil from this area. So we don't want to have it be too high in like fresh compost, which is why I diluted it. And we want to mix it in with the soil that's existing, because what happens is if you just basically dig a hole for a tree and you just put really yummy soil in there, but then there's this real stark contrast between that and the rest of the earth. The tree will basically just act as if it's planted in a pot, and its roots will just hang out in there. And so that's why you want to kind of you want to amend, but you don't want to amend too heavily. If it's in like soil that's pretty sandy, pretty beat up and compacted.
So we're digging the hole and amending it in the hole, or in the dirt that's come out of it, so when you put it back in, it's going to be amended?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, we're amending the area around the hole and in the hole.
So we get the 2 feet kind of just dig
Yeah.
in there?
Yeah, exactly.
How wide should the hole be?
Say about 2 feet by 2 feet.
2 feet deep.
And 2 feet deep. Yeah, wider the better. What's that?
3 feet by 3 feet.
3 feet by 3 feet's great. Yeah. I think different different areas will be different because some places will be easier to dig than others. So that's why I don't have like a hard and fast answer, because it's not that exact of a science. But the bigger space that we can give it, the better. Yeah. All right. Grab some shovels and start digging.
10 feet apart, right?
10 feet apart, yeah.
You gonna go up there and
Yeah.
show us
Yes.
exactly?
Yeah. I'm gonna head up there myself too.
Should I grab a pickaxe? I can start digging holes.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's grab some pickaxes and start loosening it up. I'm gonna have one pickaxe, you'll have the other.
Huh?
And we want to come out maybe 4 or 5 feet or so
Okay.
from the fence.
Okay.
Oh, this isn't so bad over here. So just kind of open up the space for them. If it's easy to dig in, then a shovel can come in after you, and just start scooping it out. And we can move, and we can kind of mark the holes for people. Kind of opened it up a little bit, and I noticed that it was actually pretty easy over here to work, which is awesome. And I borrow your shovel. And so what you want to do is kind of hold the shovel so it's pointed straight, and you can either put a foot on it or jump on it and get in there, and then just put the soil aside. You can see that some of it was already a little bit amended. This soil is obviously different than that light brown. But pretty soon we'll probably hit the hard pan, and then we'll need one of these pickaxes to get in there again. I think I just might have hit it. So we want to do the hole about 4 to 5 feet away from the fence line, and coming out, say about this big.
You're gonna mark us out the holes, otherwise
Yeah.
we're gonna get the job done.
Yeah, I'm gonna mark out the holes.
We're making up.
1, 2, 3. So right here, yeah. And don't get any closer than this to the fence.
Don't get any closer.
Yeah.
To the fence.
Yeah.
But I can
No.
go way to the finger.
Yes, and you can actually move this.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is again our swale where the water is gonna sink into. Cool.
Yeah,
Keep
well,
going.
Take a break.
Oh, you're digging perfect.
Is that going to be deep root?
No, you're good.
That's good.
That's perfect.
Okay, so that's perfect.
That's excellent. So what we'll do now is we have our amendment and we have the soil, and we're gonna want to mix the two. What you'll do is you can make a nice pile. Like, let me see your shovel real quick. Or if you want, you can make a pile right here of 1 and 1, 1 and 1. Try and mix it around so that it's going to be evenly distributed. We don't want it to be like super concentrated in this area, because again, the roots will just spin around in there and stay in that area. We want them to actually break out and go further. So it's okay if we take this whole entire pile and mix it with this. It's going to be fine.
So I'm Dr. Stefan Kasian. I'm a clinical faculty at Bastyr University Clinic in Sorrento Valley, San Diego. And I first heard about the LegTag Foundation when I was doing some community service with Bastyr in May of this year, 2016. It was called EcoFest, where this Coastal Roots farm featured vendors from the local community to show their wares and give away free coupons for the clinic. So we did a table, we offered free visits to our clinic, and I met with Farmer D and the staff here, and it was a great opportunity that we coordinated a meeting with our school officials and LegTag, Coastal Roots Farm as well. And that's when I mentioned to Farmer D that we have this community of of volunteers that would like to help plant trees, and that's how this started. It's very exciting because this is just the dream that Amma's had of planting millions of trees around the world, and we're doing our part.
So we're back here at Coastal Roots Farm in the food forest, and we're going to be planting carob trees today. We've got these little seedlings here that are about a year old. Carob is kind of a slower growing tree, but it's an excellent tree, and it produces food crop of these pods that are kind of sweet and edible. You've probably seen them as a replacement for chocolate, but you can do a lot of things with them. They're a Mediterranean plant. They're drought tolerant, and so they're gonna line our fence line here, where they're not gonna get a lot of water, and they're gonna still provide shade, food, and and home to different birds and creatures. Last week we dug pretty large holes because this soil here was not as fertile as as we'd hoped, but we went ahead and amended with some compost and different things, and now we have a little bit of this darker, richer soil as opposed to this sandier, lighter soil. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and squeeze these out. There's a little kind of hole here at the bottom. Take a couple fingers and you can kind of push it up and just squeeze around and keep pushing until the tree comes up, and then very gently just tuck it out of this pot. And you can see it was in this potting mix, and it's got these nice long roots here. We don't want to disturb it too much because it's already, it's pretty loose already. And we'll go ahead and we'll place it in here. You want the neck of the tree, which is the point where it goes from being trunk and branches to roots. You want that point to be just a little higher than your soil level. That way when you water it and it kind of settles in, it's not sunken down. You don't want it to be sunken in. So this hole is a little deep, so I'm just gonna bring some of this back. So you got it at this point. This is great. And now we're gonna create a little half circle, kind of a berm on the lower end of the hill, in order to just slow down any water that does rain here or that does get here, from our sprinkler irrigation, just so that it'll sink into the roots before running down the hill. That's good. I can take one more on this side. That's good.
Is it just for the hill, or do you actually go all the way around it with a...
So it depends. If I'm on a hillside, I'd do it on the lower end of the hill. If I'm on flat land, I'll do one that's all around it. Yeah, and I'll make like a little ring. On flat land, I tend to do it more with like mulch, whereas on a hillside, I'll do it with soil. And so what we'll do now is, so the tree is planted, and we'll go ahead and give it some water. Thank you.
You don't have to wait like you do with succulents to water it. You water them right away.
No, you can water it right away, yeah. And as you see, this has already kind of slowed the water down.
Why do you use mulch on a flat area and soil on the hill? What is the purpose?
Because soil will stop the water from flowing
Understand it,
down.
but why mulch? Is that just
Mulch is just all around really great to kind of counter the evaporation that happens. Mulch is all around great to counter evaporation, and mulch eventually decomposes, and it just creates a nice layer of soil as it does that. So continually adding mulch is just a maintenance thing. You know, think about a forest. You know, tree branches fall, leaves drop. You know, you never see bare soil. You always see the soil covered with tree
would
parts.
it make sense to put some mulch in that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So the next step after I finish watering, we'll be carrying in mulch and spreading it all around the tree, around like 3 inches or so is good, and then anywhere else we can, if we have extra anywhere else in between is great. Mulch is also a great medium for mycelium, and as that breaks down, you know, you'll start to see. I have one little example here. You'll start to see this kind of white, sort of. It looks powdery, but it's not, and I can pass this around. There's some other bits here.
What's mycelium?
Mycelium is fungus. Our mushroom friends.
Oh.
Our mushroom friends are. They're sort of the internet of the forest. They pass communication along between trees, between plants.
Wow.
It's incredible, yeah. And the mulch is a medium for them, because they actually do a lot of the breaking down of branches and leaves and things like that.
So they actually carry ingredients
They
that inform other parts of the forest?
Yeah. Yeah, they inform, they pass information along, they pass nutrients along, they break down a lot of things. It's really fascinating. There's a lot to learn about with mycelium, and a lot that's just coming to light now.
Don't they break down toxic things too? Like,
They do also break down,
chemicals?
some varieties do break down chemicals, plastic, I've heard as well. So, yeah, mushrooms are gonna save the world. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Great. So now we've got our mulch, and after we've watered, we'll go ahead and just spread it all on the berm around. This is the berm, the little like hill that I created. Yeah. So we'll spread it all over, all around. You can tuck it in, but you don't want it to be right up against the trunk. You want to give the trunk here some space, and that's just because at this point here, if there's if there's a lot of mulch right at the base, it's a place of weakness where disease can thrive, and so we want to let the air get through here and dry it out after it gets watered and stuff like that. Cool. So yeah, let's each grab a tree, find your hole, and let's go both directions. And I think we have about 13 trees to plant.
Chocolate tree.
Can you eat it?
My chocolate.
Why do we plant trees?
Actually, trees make up.
The whole concept of the food forest, of doing planting in waves with undergrowth that builds up the soil, and then fruit trees that follow, and then the undergrowth brought back down underneath the fruit trees, so that it starts and then it just continues to progress, just like nature.
I'm really thankful for this opportunity. It's so nice to be able to plant trees.
Mushrooms talk to the rest of the plants and transfer information. Lots of love makes the carob trees grow big.
We started out as a novice little volunteer group, and we're cutting our teeth literally on how to plant and do it right. I mean, you think just a tiny little tree that's 6 inches tall with a root system, you just think of planting it in the ground, but here, like, we lay a really deep foundation of cutting a huge swath of earth and amending it with other soil and aerating it, and then planting the tree gives it a chance to really grow the right way. It's like, it's a very good long-term vision. It's really amazing, and this is a very cute tree because we loved on her.
We gave her a name, him a name.
Yes,
her, him a name.
It's all about the intention. We put a lot of love into it, and
yeah.
we think that the tree needs to know that how special it is, so it can grow big and strong, and we can harvest chocolate from it. It's all about the carob chocolate substitute.